Oh, just like.
That's it.
It's rather just probably got it.
La.
In John's as a child, I got
Yeah.
the John Gam in John's.
Oh.
Got a lot.
Oh, Drupon says that it is muted. Something is muted. I guess the CRSS is muted in Chicago.
In John,
John is muted.
Yeah, muted. That's also.
And this one.
That good ones. Indeed, don't take us at it.
Oh.
No, garment up to. And it is because it.
Hello.
What's it? Because it's in John, just to
Shabbat is a comment to it.
those is John take those as teachers.
Okay, lots of you.
Ventana kerange gato.
Siba tamchi je meta shi kizi zhang yi san. Dalo dang wara jibe zhai, no bara jibe ge, tarwa dang tamchi chenbe watu ju bara jiba. Tamchi je zu jibe mai namka dang nyambe simchen tamchi dewa dang dian dunga. Tang chi nyo zi la na mi bara yang ta bara zu bi chang chu ren bu chi tu bara i cha mi da la dang bara chi bi zha no bara chi bi ge tar wa dang tam chi qian bei hua zi ju bara chi ba tam chi ji zu chi bi ma nam ka dang nian bi sim qian tam chi de wa dang dian dong er dang chi nyo zi la na mi ba yang da bara zo bi chang chu ren bu chi tu bara i cha i da la dang bara chi bi zha no bara chi bi ge tar wa dang tam chi qian bei hua zi ju bara chi ba tam chi ji zu chi bi ma nam ka dang nian bi sim qian tam chi de wa dang dian dong er dang chi nyo zi la na mi ba yang da bara zo bi chang chu ren bu chi tu bara i cha ti chi tu sang ma ji ji wa lunga yi song ge wa la gu ma xie wa de lunga yi song ge wa la gu tu te ne song de nu ma sang da zam ji wa de lunga yi song ge wa la gu强求我们被毛绒了，看来你把想着被土啊个一些完了，基本在了口腔去，请别吃拉松哎。
别吃拉松。
我真的在课上记住没得，在吃完游泳那时候，长满脚，其实人家有人不得劲嘛，还快啊，马的是拉罗。我这来不真的，咱这个我们这把子，西安这把子都给记住其中的点，他这一买起这些人都，他这些就会。娘娘的样子，就不是做我们那些，这是那边记住去，当年去，这些人就去厂嘛做不大些种的，上头想嘛开些这用多。
So we continue from last time, and so just in case you're following the book that we have been using in English, what I am referring to now is not in the book, and I found that on an Austrian website actually. So I don't know who is the translator. It's not written there. So anyways, but where we stopped is so at the end, last thing we said is Milarepa said that if anyone has any questions about instructions, then they should ask them now. And so then there were Tigum Repa and Seban Repa, who then thought that, judging from Milarepa's words, we don't believe that Milarepa will soon pass into nirvana, and perhaps his life is not yet over. And then Milarepa said, my life is over and my mission has been completed. Signs of my death will soon become apparent. And then a few days later, the master Milarepa showed signs of his illness. That's all.
다시 좀 당이 제시 내종동백 지주근용원들라 다로만남 라마이랑 컨트롤 초상도 최종라 초상도 마양 지주랑라电邮啥的那电邮这些电邮它可能联系所碰呢来本都区别用到那么给当的大工期长别是我在这落下呢
And then a few days later, Milarepa showed signs of illness. And then Repa of Ngenzong said to him, Master, for this sickness, we, your disciples, will sacrifice offerings to the lamas, yidams, dakinis, and guardian deities. We will also perform the ritual of longevity and give you treatment and medicine. And then Repa of Ngenzong called other disciples to help with preparations for the ritual.
마고바 땡야 남소 동랑제 수대는 천년 남게 droba 초총 to choreke donla jamro mago sanro me so mechi mago ba tunga ni ishi ki dewa sharwala mechi mago ta lu ta tula phamna lu jerem juma da da te ta ku zorem te wosinga temjo ba ina tela tengu chadong mi jiksen pa namla ra dikpa o so me dibu jega nan chi so ke donga se de yongwa mechi jamro chi ran do be ta mi jarbu wan ba wu se zeme so chupo nor darme wan manke darme wan manke shala so tap shi je wan da kan ke jang ma do rang ke rang ye pa se nyong go ba yin do donga sen je kin de wan do na che de donga ma do men nyong be ta de de ba chu be ta ren ro sam mo she nga la yu te te yu nga la yu te so wa ta tra wa lo kan
And so then Milarepa said to him, for a hermit, sickness is usually an exhortation to spiritual practice. Without performing any ritual, he must transform all experiences of adverse conditions into sublime attainment and must be able to face sickness and even death itself. In particular, because I, Milarepa, have already performed all the rituals in accordance with the instructions of my compassionate Lama Marpa, I have no need for the first or the second ritual. Because I have transformed adverse conditions into favorable factors, I have no need for ceremonies, propitiatory rites, or drum calls. Spirits of evil who appeared before me have been subdued and transformed into protective forces to aid us in the realization of the fourfold power of action. I do not want the remedy of 6 medicinal herbs, because the sickness of 5 poisons has become in me the dawn of the 5 aspects of transcendent awareness. And so I need no remedies. Now that my time has come, my earthly body has been transformed into a more subtle form, dissolved into a totally awakened state of emptiness. Worldly men experience the consequences of their defilements through the cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death. They cannot avoid it through remedies or rituals. Inexorably, they must confront it. Nothing can stop it, neither the power of kings nor the deeds of heroes, the beauty of women, the wealth of the rich, the speed of the cowardly, nor clever entreaty. If you are afraid of this suffering and desire happiness, I know an effective means to remove misery and achieve permanent peace.
전에 나로시 단 말아요. 저 정보소로 나로시 쉬로. 오늘 kurwa chawa zan zi. 주는 제 누나 티. 제나 치바소 동아리요 바서 랑도 랑시 용 바데. 레 장보네 라메 로당데 메소 메초바. 면도바 천년 남아 가시. 제미 통냠스래나. 탑다 점조세. 초이비세. 티미 카첸 요바테 딩소치바. 마지와 치셰 송 스타트로샤나.
And so then the Rinpoche disciples requested, please give this to us. And Milarepa replied, very well, the nature of samsara is such that wealth which has been accumulated is dispersed. Houses that have been built are destroyed. Unions are broken, and all that is born must die. Since inevitably one suffers for one's acts, one must abandon worldly aims and give up accumulating, building, and uniting. The best remedy is to realize the ultimate truth of reality under the direction of an enlightened Lama. Furthermore, I have very important instructions to give you later as my last testament. Do not forget. Lasso.
전에 레파 시바고 당연종동 반니기 지출군감 선나 자동 섬천 넘버 통화라데 자라 수바 마테롱 다남 먼저 봐 라베상가 사모 초가시 인지바 당 denju的denju是这种denju是denju像年纪讲起吧学是吧我的老乡
And so then Shiva Rinpoche and the Rinpoche of Ngenzong continued to urge, Master, were you in good health, you would fulfill the aims of many more sentient beings. Even if you do not grant our wish, we implore you to perform a ritual according to the secret tradition, to take some medicine, and also to allow us to offer prayers for your long life, so that at least we have no remorse. So,
전에 지수신의 둘라화 다 둘라화나 친이시 서버 둘라 마와나 친이시 서버 제장초 데미션 펜셈 지제 마지마 랑케 쳔데 집에 장아스모 초가 집발라 이시 제보하는 제보 치토도 차다르기 레라 젠련슈바 자베 네바요 베치랑나 장동케 쳔디치 코네치 장아스모 초가 마지 소소케 소소 지원하는 조미치 나스티안남지 통도 상하성모 초가 외내수 준투 집에 그름도 제가 초반이 되는 게 심리 중이 되는 요아메요 메도 바텔라 노베텔 땡요장 티케 초반이 마르이 메지 통한 니케 자반 후베 메지 장티 초반이 지나나 쟁년 남스멜로나 초반이 바랑케 메초 둘라 마바나 쟁상 창조 조베 게스초로 메지 자름도 제장 메총 체제 지행에서 치바 예 도지 내天수 연天수 저바 요베 대다부킨 두자 멤버 남나고네 뭐 좀된데지 소지 현대라 차된 바다 멤버 매서바 남바지 둘라 밤나 상제장 양연대비 추된 장아야 둘라 바비 면치 다른로 메지 좀바 만하스 다라바 소야
then Milarepa replied, had my time not come, I would do as you both have asked, but performing such a rite to invoke a yidam in order to prolong life without concern for the benefit of sentient beings is like asking a king to step down from his throne to sweep the floor. Never use the secret method of the Vajrayana for your worldly aims. In mountain solitude, I unceasingly perform the highest rites for the sake of unenlightened creatures. So there is no need for any other ritual. Since my inner consciousness is not a separate entity from the all-embracing emptiness, there is no need for any prayers of longevity. Marpa's remedies extirpated the 5 poisons at their roots. These remedies were enough. But if you have no capability for turning adversity into favorable conditions for achieving your aims, and if your time to depart has not yet come, then it is not wrong to take medical treatment and apply spiritual remedies in order to surmount obstacles, since a possibility of doing so still exists. It was thus long ago that the Buddha, with the thought of suffering creatures in mind, showed his hand to Shenu, the physician, and took his remedies. Even though he was the Buddha, when his time came, he died. My time has also come. That is why I will not take these remedies. Lasso.
yang tui la fa me chi dan me zu kong ni tu se re pa ni sa sa se ba wo de ne zo mo ba ni ba kong ni ke ya ne ba su ji zu xian dong tu tai ne ji shi tu gong zuo bei ta全部当股东小套叉叉当秋天行路电视数字屯出当大龙帮那么多上年呢其他些辛苦那么学等ji zu ke xian ne nga ma be chen chen ma be ga di la de kun de cha ba sam ji zuo 군대 제와 탐지 소조 제와 탐지 신바인비 고som 추니 초로라 내저 로옹에 예파미 예배 차사던 초天힘이고 말 다도 소매 공바미비 된산데 제주 미비 야르상 강을 나서 미미케 애네남 친한남 송 별로 남지 직접 심지한다는 세배종 차사 투기 내저 마차바다 초天就他们记了，他们那种不被讲在说，就可以模糊没别你空是白的，是吧？你们呢？其实那当时上牛毛拍的，主要是说呢，你说那生钱的路呢，主要是生钱的路呢，给为那吧，bon，同样年报主要是生钱了，骗呢，那把同样年报主要是生钱了骗呢。那么的确那么那样，我特别注意的，七八条，可能你们呢，没几把气出吧，突把假期星期这把年松些的动完了，当然这种嘛，那么下面的，我们来的，让先把给的那做汤多了，从那些同时之间呢，让他们去把些国外人，别这里。这在现在应那边香港给，那些香港种。假如恐怕他们给托什么恐怕曾经这样对吧？俺们跟上班得去做吧，喏，也上班做那其他那么，或者个计划什么，吃吧，对面以前去对比上班做呗，他偏把真的偏把真的一种偏经过这种说是他妈老想吃，同大也不多。
And so then the 2 Repa disciples asked, so that was Shibawu and Ngenzong Repa. So they asked, if you must leave for the sake of other beings, how shall we perform the devotional ceremonies, funeral rites, and the cremation of your body? How shall we make the figurines from the ashes and build the stupa? Who will guide the order of our tradition? How shall we commemorate your death? What offering should be made to you on your anniversary? Tell us how we should pursue our search through listening, questioning, and meditating. Then Milarepa replied, with the guidance of the compassionate Marpa, I have completed the work of liberation. It is not at all certain that an awakened hermit whose body, speech, and mind have attained the highest state will persist in the form of a corpse. Do not cast figurines or build a stupa. I have no monastery. Hence, there is no established center for the order. Adopt as your abode of solitude both the arid and the snow-covered mountains. Consider the beings of the 6 universal realms as your followers and give them spiritual protection and compassion. Rather than molding figurines, meditate 4 times a day. Rather than building a stupa, develop higher perceptions of the universe and raise the banner of meditation. The best commemoration of my death is to have veneration for your Lama. Concerning the way of pursuing your inner search, reject all that which increases self-clinging and inner poison, even if it appears to be good. On the contrary, practice all that which counteracts the 5 poisons and helps other beings, even though it appears to be bad. This is essentially in accord with the Dharma. However learned you may be, if you lack deep experience and knowingly indulge in harmful deeds, you will only throw yourself deeper into the lower realms through self-delusion. Since life is short and the time of death unknown, devote yourself wholly to meditation. Act wisely and courageously according to your inborn sense of discrimination, even at the cost of your life. In a word, act in a way you will not be ashamed of. If you follow these directions attentively, even if you go against the letter of the sacred books, you will not be going against the intentions of the Buddhas of the past, and you will also fulfill the wish of this old man. Such is the essence of all listening, questioning, and meditating. If my wish is fulfilled, you will complete the work of your liberation. On the other hand, all efforts to satisfy worldly desires are useless. After he had said this, he sang in the song of spiritual gain. Lesson.
这就是嘛被小兰军的做地里头了，啊，没见怕了，看了，怕见没了热怕给，他你他是看见没了，那就是没了热怕给，老张嘛被个地小把成绩参加的，去进修去了。 他们看了见的东西，我们接着把恐怕手工做些，然后从前现在主要把这米才把成绩，让先从对门作为，不把上把门作为，就这样了嘛，马天忙过去吧，让就球堂没事会，就得送把接了，那几天下把马上，咱们往把接了，我从球堂没退呢，球个去把接了，今年你不没做呢，说把工啊，别接了，就是球堂马放了，球把不会接了，让走这把马放了，金把当往接了，就是跑马马些，电视送啊接了，什么常常马些，那么秋天新话接了，最近呢就是没那个，大把接了。 说吧，你们没得，就没把接了片，但嘛在那吧没叫，东莞西把接了，松山这个没把，东西地位接了片，就现在就那些风大西把接了片，那些大卫先去没讲嘛，开上人接了片，那么都把马旁位，下套去都接了片，这种情况们自己后来忙不接了，偏什么去把那偏什么去呗。 偏什么没别前几天，弄把就别学了，前把去别那就来这吧，这吧么不过方面，我他这些国家嘛，实际是哪些了？这国家没我前把当那叫的，他确实也么不国家么都是，从哪的吧
Ini chajang logo re, logo mari.
？Malo,
okay.
基本上是问题。
So then to summarize the meaning of this song, Milarepa says, I'm a yogi who has abandoned, who has given all useless activities.
我写中真的后来那个抽象就有讲法，是可能把身体旁边的下，现在的写我才说他刚才的。但呢，技术啊，技术用为最点被这些杂货，他告诉这些杂货投入是吧？ 我这些杂货吧，想象不完，从把些钱呢，牛只打的钱的那里，基础都会出不来样，用现在都会用嘛，马蹄的，从那了国他比那国了那了国，国他比那大的不了不吧，全班都他没几查学呗，基础先做这样子，你的啦，我都没把些，我忙我们从前两些这类些，这看啥配备你的，就配你。 你们的检讨的下巴去，先把你的建议中国这种说是在把老上。
And so then the disciples were deeply moved by these words, and they were also sad. And since Milarepa showed increasingly grave symptoms of illness, the Geshe Tsakpoa, so that was the Geshe from before with the poisoned yogurt. So the Geshe Tsakpoa brought a little meat and beer, and pretending to inquire about his health, said to Milarepa, "It is really a pity that such an illness befalls a saint like the master. If it is possible to share it, divide it among your disciples. If there is a way to transfer it, give it to a man such as myself. But since that is impossible, what should be done?" Milarepa smiled and said, "You know very well that my illness has no natural cause or provocation. And in any case, illness in an ordinary man is not the same as illness in a spiritual man. I should accept it as a special opportunity for inner transformation. For this reason, I bear my sickness as an ornament." Having thus spoken, Milarepa sang this song. So. And so then to summarize this song, Milarepa says that this illness is a cause for developing the major and the minor marks of a Buddha. May all evil intentions become completely purified. And in the end, he says, I could transfer this illness, but I have no reason to do so. And so then the geisha thought, he suspects that I gave him the poison, but he's not sure. Although he has reason to transfer his sickness, he can't. So then the geisha said, if I knew the source of your sickness, and if it were an evil spirit, I would exorcise it. Were it a physical disorder, I would cure you, but I do not know what you have. So if you can transfer your disease, transfer it to me. And then Milarepa said, a certain being is possessed by the demon of self-grasping, which is the worst one of all. It is he who caused my illness. You could neither exorcise the demon nor cure me. If I shared my sickness with you, you could not bear it for an instant. I shall not transfer it. The geishas thought, he cannot transfer it. He's pretending. So he insisted, transfer it anyway. That's it. And so then Milarepa said, well, then I will not transfer it to you, but I will transfer it to that door. Watch carefully. And he transferred it to the door of the cell. Immediately, there was a loud crack, and shaking violently, the door began to break apart. At this moment, Milarepa was without illness. The geisha suspected that it was a magician's trick and said, very strange. Now transfer it to me. That's all.
Jisu Shab Jibola, the Ning Tapan, Chima Chapu, Don Himenga, take Jisula, Jibu Tamba, Chita, Nugisi, Chiran Zumba, Kumbo, Dark, Lopum Gombo Keju, Chibala, Da Ranke, Nurkan, Northern Kanji Jeba, Jisula Bu, Dinami Mayon, Jisukin Chen Shubi, Kajini Yapashi, Jisuni, Tokshin near the Nitama, so here, yet second, Eugene Kanji, Magoba Chika, Eugene Kanja Gopa me. Mbuwa namchilang che ta chinchi zola habron chungge rin de maji tanen nami de menhongwa molam she ngarang chi ba yin zo ne gor zo so os ma lo yana.
And so then the geisha said, Milarepa said, I'm good, I will give the geisha a little taste of it. And then Milarepa withdrew the sickness from the door and gave it to Tsakpova, who collapsed in pain. Paralyzed and choking, he was on the verge of death. Then Milarepa took back a large part of the sickness and said, I have only given you half of my sickness, and you could not bear it. Full of remorse for having inflicted such suffering, and the geisha threw himself sobbing at the master's feet and said, O precious master, O saint, it is just as you said. One who was possessed did this evil to you. I offer you my house, wealth, and property. Help me to free myself from the consequences of my actions. I sincerely beg for your forgiveness. Milarepa was very pleased and took back the rest of the sickness and said, all my life, I have had no desire for house, wealth, or property. Now that I'm approaching the end of my life, I certainly have no need for them. So take back your gifts. Never again act contrary to the Dharma, even at the cost of your own life. I will invoke my Lama to keep you from suffering the consequences of your actions. And then Milarepa sang this song. That's all.
Zimmerman said, and Lamy Shalan, something I deep as our Tesia, something of a deep and Tesia was our I give a dicina, to some give it to some Sanji Gawa in the good deep as our Chujidung or something, dark along the Jung, Amalon, Pamala, Nobody by English, Senam Legend, I mean, dark along the Jung, 2,000 number, some deep trouble, Java, taking Java, some to give a trouble neighborhood. So long they can some young, just so young, Magic or Zamba Sambo, Simjan Gunja, Tobar calls. So
this is the song. I prostrate myself at the feet of Marpa, the enlightened one. May the 5 inexpiable sins be wiped out through remorse. May the sins of all beings be wiped out by virtue of my merits, and those of the Buddhas of the 3 periods of time. May all your sufferings be assumed and transformed by me. I have compassion for him who offends his master, teacher, and parents. May the consequences of his karma be assumed and transformed by me. In all times and circumstances, may he avoid the company of the sinful. But in lives to come, may he meet with virtuous companions. May he avoid bad thoughts, destructive of merit. May he abstain from harming others. May all creatures attain to bodhicitta.
today, Chiezong, Koga Joba, the neighbor from the Jisuka, Tachi, Chumiki, the Mejiba, Setan Joba Nyamba La, Dipa, Yang Kanji, Norki Lamba Labi, Tadala, Kanji, Nor Goba, maybe Jisu, Jisu Meyeron, Holotnam, Tujan Drobit, Jijan Shego, Chua, Jisuki, Maye, Chip Holotnam, Jiene, Jisuki. 存出实践是做别个，去玩特别法子有托是这些政府在真的在劳动的，在出发个某些情况，我是我在那块老乡。
At these words, the geisha was overwhelmed with joy and said, "In the future, I will do nothing contrary to the Dharma, but will meditate to the end of my life, as the Master has commanded. Formerly, I sinned for the sake of wealth. Therefore, I no longer want my worldly goods. If the Master refuses them, let his disciples accept the goods to provide for their needs during meditation." The disciples accepted the gifts, which were used later at Chubar each year to commemorate Milarepa's death. the Geshe Tsakpo then renounced the world and became a devotee. So,
我真的在记住听写的，我可上听写，我真的在记住跟记住写呢，俺那都里边我把里边进就仓库的里边的出发等于，他让俺贡献冲突去吧，结果帮钱去吧，你知道呗？去吧是土上要从这从是的7万这赔，我那牛去，我家穷呗，我家吧都被拖来了，点点学，俺那也有吧，200米，7万200米。那水电气水动去完了，知道吧？因拖了么个是热怕熊吧个，我去完了送的呢，热怕熊吧呢去完了，清白去记住去完这些步骤，我来骗到，吃完这把那么抢水我就见到，帮我这把就见到就用水动上见到，去完去结束去把2万那边掐起就见，另外呢用到那么常看的那确中见到，那把。这类现在就是年过中间的，从真的去完了，先把那么的就去完了，拍上都成这把那么的这把那么的就也确实来用现在我们那么的俺做这类些确实那用啊，因现在看见去就是身上来说是，我那去年那你提起车看了，秋中年过新闻那么的，就出来俺年过去一些现长往那么去，他的看嘛，就几岁去别人，我真的他几岁没来的吧？俺那学没好可以嘛的是，期间俺实际那都要是2块钱，把2块钱啊起退意思，他真的这一场送是，当然那了的国法没都是，去块那了充备那些呢，假如我们帮那些来着，我的是，但俺现在需要这样去完了就一种的，这工作点点学这。强中送点点学这里头呢，他们过程啊，那学没写的嘛，其实也没写的嘛。这里这把熊把可是去挖送这里，我打成就有的是，可惜要他去挖了，对几岁才来去挖了这一代有的是。啊，可惜娘们几岁娘们照片娘们这有的是，实际可惜几岁去送我的是，可惜刚年考不上几岁这有的是，我成就忙不这，但几岁同类是的呢。
And so then Milarepa said that I cannot live in this place to accept the remorse of such a sinner. And so then he said, for a hermit to die in a village would be like a king dying in a hovel. Now I'm going to Tshuva. So he says, I'm going to Tshuva to die. So then some of the Rebas went ahead, and Milarepa then arrived, was the first to arrive in the Dorje cave, and there were some monks, some elder monks, and so there was a group of disciples who had come to meet Milarepa at the Chua, and inside different houses, one Milarepa appeared to each occupant who presented him with offerings. So basically, one disciples there was a Milarepa appeared in different ways. So one Milarepa appeared and manifested symptoms of illness, and one appeared to serve his disciples, and then another one appeared to meet benefactors and teach the Dharma at a cave, and so forth. And so then everyone had a different story to tell. So there were some people who said that Milarepa has arrived in Tshuva before us. And then some said that he actually accompanied us. He was accompanied by us. And then some said that he's here. We've been with him. He's in our house. And some had, but he's here in my house. And then others said, no, he's teaching here in this cave. And then others said, but I invited him to my house to receive offerings, and there he was. So everyone told a different story. So.
我从咱工作团队来看嘛，这基础学历，咱基础，我参嘛点把这事情怎么去吧，应中的是。
And so then they asked Milarepa about that, and he said, "All of you are right. I tricked you." So.
真的，这基础去完这些步骤，他去完这些步骤的，因为出点的是，这去那边他们因为出点说是，有出点的后说是。
And so then Milarepa stayed in Chua Dorje cave, manifesting sickness.
Tizi nga chu zombi ki tu sin jawu ta de so chu bar ki nam ke ri ku cha ji tu kin kam kan to chong ba kam chong ba ta chu ki ba wo dang yan zong dong pa se mian pa la son ji kam kan to chong ba to yu da cha nam ji so ba kan to de ding so ro xie da ki nam yu zong ba ti kan la ta du da cha nam ji nyam ne che da ji xie da na ma xue xue be ji su xie ne wo ta gong zu la do ta ji tu pa xin kam chong ya ba ta chu sa 네, 다다 리바 시바우데 다스 말로 향릭사 네 남 치었습니다. 어떻게 추가할?
And then at this time, the rainbow and all the other signs that had appeared during Milarepa's discourse could be seen in the sky over Chubar and on the mountain tops. Everyone was certain that Milarepa was going to depart for another realm. Shiva and Nyenzong Repa, the Repa of Siben, asked, "To which Buddha realm does the master expect to go? Where shall we direct our invocation? What last instruction will the master give us? What form of practice should we follow?" And then Milarepa replied.
저는 지수시는 zorba 지나서 감옥 스톱스 칸탄 칸도 티구치 바 zorba 토다 til 누나가 요 칸도 베크 통 zorba 인 zorba 시 잡한 톱 자네가 몽바르게 외신도 좀 되는데 매주 예순 조바 로고반도 띵촌 라베 카침 쳐바데 나메다레 히베 제수 치라나 유요베 노르 반칸데 레본데 제충포 노르스데 바 오 콜라조 농군베 덴데리 제충마레 와트니 로라 마레 바쇼 나타 아메치 우야 대단한 아가를 처반데 따금 지조바 상본지 비 덴데리 비케 우바 동바라 지장 초바치 신포의 시바우 제 토본데 년종 레페시아 매창의 세면에 배치 토르만데 제공배 배치 현지다베 블로그나 예레군 투머레 체 노르팅솔 노르침보메데 덴데나레요 단니 이제 카침군 주미베케 차블로 냐마나마 군 개완제시 우나메라 레페 세강 조사베 케세 참치 제도 진에 제로 다 얘기해 당 제대 탑관디 워트 배유 나 희외 예수 얘기나 또 이게 나 시치 지난 냠내치로 다다 추바 상보로 만남지 조남제 가zam반데 체타다 코나 저바케 나라 먹고바 고파 제시 당东西 타 고탑지 진노 이게 진행은 통치종 묘모 소시남도 고도 진의 세대 지규许多上去给完了种种木匠，让他们穷马桶马上，谁上坡在路上去呢？3万元济南的现地给年长都被突去马桶就是没米被给，以前的其他做被给，前把做把成绩，路通了给全部给做被，这把那么的，现在就那做把就是其呢，确看我们去被基础开现在让动吃把米呢，确的干么人。前地给同多巴堂，劳动在行动的其中，让动么着，多米的去切吧，先做完，知吧？咱那路马头话的，行动马来，农民去办这呗，同时训练有，哪看了马子话，身边谁把米你们去，你那劳动去吧，确保人，对吧？前两年咱把那把他呗，大呗先去，身边咱去从头上去，通头去，就是把没别啥从。주보 공총 총도고 담송의 류다 화고 semla 콜콜라 냠스 몽시 셈 티딩카 셈티안 동 세가라니 년 남서 저와 동마라 꾸지 이라 송게 세는 고원의 정도 스타트가 뭐하나
Oh yeah. So then Milarepa said, invoke me wherever you wish. Wherever you invoke me with faith, I will be with you. Whatever your aims, they will be fulfilled. In an instant, I will be in the pure land of the Buddha, immutable. Here are the instructions I promised you. After my death, give Rinchen the things that you know I have used, my staff and my robe. They will serve as auspicious symbols for his meditation through the control of breath. Rinchen will be here soon. Do not touch my body until he arrives. This hat of the Master Milarepa and this staff of black olive wood are signs that the teaching of the Buddha will be maintained through profound meditation and perfect seeing. Therefore, give these things without fail to Dumpa of U, which is Gambopa, Shiva, take this wooden bowl. Ngenzong, take this skull cap. Venerable, take this tinder box. Venerable, take this bone spoon. You other initiated disciples, each take a strip of my cotton robe. These are not great riches, but all are equally tokens. Now, here are very important instructions concerning something which you disciples have not known about. Hidden under the hearth lies all the gold that I have amassed during my lifetime, and a will that distributes it among you. After my death, read the will and follow its directions. As for the manner of practicing the Dharma, they are rich people who consider themselves good devotees. They may give 100 useful or useless things as alms, but only with the motive of getting back 1,000 in return. This is only their way of glorifying worldly life. Human beings indulge covertly in harmful deeds without regard to displeasing their all-seeing guardian deities. Afraid they will not achieve their worldly aims, they try to do good. But since they are unable to renounce the desire for recognition, they are actually consuming poison with their food. Do not drink this poison of the desire for recognition. Abandon everything you call Dharma practice, but which actually is directed toward glorifying the worldly life. Devote yourself to true spiritual practice. Then the Ripas asked, can we engage in an active life if it proves beneficial to other beings? Milarepa answered, if there is no attachment to selfish aims, you can, but that is difficult. Those who are full of worldly desires can do nothing to help others. They do not even profit themselves. It is as if a man carried away by a torrent pretended to save others. Nobody can do anything for sentient beings without first attaining transcending insight into reality. Like the blind leading the blind, one would risk being carried away by desires. Because space is limitless and sentient beings innumerable, you will always have a chance to help others when you become capable of doing so. Until then, cultivate the aspiration toward complete enlightenment by loving others more than yourself while practicing the Dharma. Dress in rags and content yourself with little food, clothing, and recognition. Discipline your body and be mindful of your spiritual goals. This should be done for the sake of all sentient beings. To guide you on this path, remember these words. And then he sang this song. So, isn't that a really good instruction and a very profound instruction?
Yeah, Mabe Rajon Mabe Shavla to choose it, Chinto, Sedan Lama, Martin, Mulu, Chejang Jilla, one for some of my unit, Jichang Seke, Rani, Jude Bombo, Maja, and Jana, Tamchi Kosa, Menga, some of Magom, Chava dance, Rando in Yomonian, Mele, Kashi Komba, Donda, Samo Tabla, Mizon, Tonju Chejang, Ningocho, Nanga Samo, Mehevi, Niru Chejang, Lamurin, Sonam Mountain, Masana, Rando Jiku, Kurbeju. Saba Chutan, Matana, Gomba, Gomjan Yontian Jeva, Choshin on the Magic, Mambo Zondo, Mayan, Nanki Dechi, Mayan, Chi Dechi, Donga, Chino Bombo, Matun, Chando, Rampon Country, Nindo Nyomo, Tonga Chop, Modu Chamba, Chosanti, Ranki, they can Mamaju, Karo Shutan, come to me, Mayan Jontan, Yuati, different Dota, Chotanti, Messasuna, Tosa, Kale Jontan, Jobai, Chavadana, Tonchando. Sabla Jontan, Yolamdo, Tony Dona, Ninja, Dayemi, Tony Dona, Ninja, Dayemi, Dayemi, Tonchendo, Natanji, Natanji was Sanjeto, Natanji was Sanjeto, Nathan Datan Sanje, Polo, immediate they were yours. That's lots of Sarita.
Yeah, look,
Loa, Lodimehan.
oh, yeah. So then this is the song. I prostrate myself at the feet of Marpa, the translator. Those who wish to know and practice the Dharma, who merely venerate the Lama without fully entrusting themselves to him, will be but slightly benefited. Without receiving true initiation, mere words of Tantra will blind you. Without being guided by the true meaning of the Tantras, all your practices will lead you astray. Without meditation, according to the profound instruction, he who practices asceticism only torments himself. He who does not subdue desire and illusion only speaks sterile and empty words. He who does not know profound skillful means will fail, however great his effort. He who does not have the key to the profound meaning of the Dharma will belong upon the path, however great his courage. He who accumulates no merit and seeks only his own liberation reaps rebirth. He who does not give up what he has accumulated for the sake of the Dharma will not achieve perfection, however much he meditates. He who is not deeply content with what he has sees the wealth he accumulates taken by others. He who lacks in himself the source of happiness finds only pain in outer pleasures. He who does not subdue his demon of ambition finds only ruination and strife in his desire for glory. Selfish desires stir up the 5 poisons. Temporal desires separate the dearest of friends. Self-glorification evokes resentment in others. Keeping silent about oneself will prevent conflicts. By maintaining tranquility and avoiding distraction, in solitude you will find your companion. Humility leads to the highest goal. He who works with care will quickly achieve results. Renunciation brings great fulfillment. The practice of the secret path is the shortest way. Realization of emptiness engenders compassion. Compassion abolishes the difference between oneself and others. If there is no duality between oneself and others, one fulfills the aim of all sentient beings. He who recognizes the need of others will discover me. He who finds me will achieve enlightenment. To me, to the Buddha, and to the disciples, you should pray as one, considering them as one. That's all.
真的记住些呢，咱家有人一路没写，尽那么年呢，俺是去了，俺先中些中的两把下呢，下边是工作节去在也排把上心目有去了，不然他就干嘛干了，把别些车就别你妈他这下边就最进步，所以求的因是天边最点多是，我才知道把老乡那样。
Oh, sorry. Then he added these words to the song. I do not know if I have much longer to live. Now that you have heard me, do as I have done. He spoke and entered into a deep state of meditation. And so, at the age of 84, at sunrise on the 14th day of the 12th month in the year of the wood hare, under the 9th lunar constellation, Milarepa passed into paranirvana, dissolving into the Dharmakaya. So.
这第一次他从看中对比个大，那俺这七八九年南块来家务说的，说嘛当俺家开始么当民忙七八的不是，那没去，但不当咱说别忙的比当穷到用手这边，咱嘛七八看嘛七八，老难去进或者当说去把七八但不现在去，我再去把那当进可多，那个都当现在或者这日么了。 那说把那咱讲是在地层，发电培养他发电了，从秋这把都没把球也当，看到那说没少钱，钱的话把他能够参起，看到秋天跟这把这代表去把去，去把去确实有被去，因说估计如么这样，都把他不计之间上不推吧，才定钱把公园通嘛就拉当，看着点点。 초제 토마토만 주반부가 좀 밑배선 토마토 맨남지 타지버 좀 더 하나남지 미케 처마면서 빈수 제라지 제주 지바당切파도 버지 제바 마저 파도 대다 중오스 어타지주 다 공파조서 이제 남관자 송담마다 제 진권정원의 쇼베제 정원의 담마다 제라스도 파무 통도 사스 좀 몰라 처마면 가도 양대 편수 깨자라 들으치죠 단세만 담마다 뭐 보충을 사스 다 감득사
So then after when Milarepa had passed into Paranirvana, many wonderful signs appeared, such as rainbows in the sky, and 5-colored clouds and parasols, banners, canopies, and billowing silks, and so forth. So these marvelous signs then lasted until the completion of his funeral. So.
디세 냐나베 요나는 지수고 예바 통해 추와르스 투시 호체나만 디비온 티베 요나는 디수 냐나바나데 보냐남도 된제 고로 주시베 지바남데 된제 마쇼베 추와 다공치 냐나바남데 오나 니 남냐나 용다 버리에 따 공마 마이시에 좀 요르도 마창 볼라 소바치베 호체남데 지베 요나는 지수라 지상냐남 녀디니케 요나는 지수라 모홀 제냐보 인용 그이사 추바리비기 보냐나도 된제바 메레 냐나바나나 포슈사 돈에 동케냐보 체송라 참바당 냐나바남제기 마풍치에도 탑수 지랍 집에 남편 제우 그걸 지축 송대다세 총소스 어타스 치레스 도르남 비사레티 참에 코레 시치키 온다서다 자다냐남 피온다서 참아용레스 등도 다냐남 바트속에 contrôle par contre il y en a des gens qui disent tu vas te sauter par dans la veste tu l'as vu t'as dit tu n'as pas sauté tu dans tu il y en a qui te disent tu vas il y en a qui paraissent il n'a t'as quoi il ça tu vois il y en a pas par qui n'a pas entendu mais si tu donc dans ce mixé dans tu vas il y en a qui pour chaque à c'est tu看讲的il y en a pas te sauter ce que c'est dit c'est marcher dit c'est marcher dit bien marcher tu pas pour choisir les ça tu quand tu 남간 제우크는 지축 송다 고스나 레스.
And so then everyone came to know about Milarepa's death, all the benefactors, and then the benefactors went to Chuba and spoke to disciples and benefactors of Drin about bringing Milarepa's body to Nyanang. Then the people of Drin refused, and then the followers of Nyanang said that the cremation should be delayed until all the benefactors of Nyanang had arrived in Chuva. And then they all went away, and so they all tried to claim the body. And so a dispute broke out, and some of the chief disciples tried to settle the dispute. And so in this way, so the followers of Nyanang and Drin all were equally faithful to Milarepa. And so because Milarepa passed away at Chuva, it was not proper to take his body to Nyanang. But the people from Nyanang should remain here and observe the cremation here. And then the relics should be distributed equally to everyone.
Then that's in course, to say that Paula Zodong, she did a teaching. Jinga Jisula Matayo, she didn't Tapton Kane, Jincho Milarepa, told Jimmy Ace to Toli Shambe Chukun, Shambe Gumi, Suku Chuku, Tembala, Mopo, Gudon Manjum, Paula Zobe, Mumbai, Mombe Jibu, Tamjila, Milarepe, Donato, Zoba Toba, Manjuri, Ohutola, Zorba, Zorba Nina, Daban, Chuku Jiva, Mibai, Monan to Jiva, Mido, Rangeva, Tuba. 루크동케 토바조로 시세는자 뭐다 지선 지지말아봐 초크레스 동세요 말 요즘 메시지 말스 이나다 지난 좀 뭐고 그냥 버스 줘봐자마도 뭐고 야고 지소라 토다 근데 제 버르게 와서 토그레스 what new channel 반자다 예스
So the disciples were prepared to fight, and at that moment a celestial youth appeared in the sky and sang this song, resembling the voice of Milarepa. And so in this song, he says that he tells them not to fight, and to rather cultivate faith and devotion. And if they cultivate faith and devotion, they will receive the relics of his Nirmanakaya body. And then with this youth vanished like a rainbow. So.
전에 다시 년나바도 지수지에 송상배 가초 침보 중레스 가초 중 탑수 텐타비아티 네바 차레스 그제나 지반남라 버슈엔 뒤시미 반냐나바는 버시 톱네 뒤시냥 transition 지도네 도 총공에 대해 슈 제우 코르포 메토드 참바 저상으로 모델상 추와상 치발미바 중 추발 제보트라스 어전에 다시 년나바도 지수모 지에 송상 가스 조바자도 메바 차레스 이나 다다디 티바트 소키 보르파 쇼스 zamne zam노미바 냐남세 소키 안보르제 덴전 슈주오바치 워테파트 라치라 보르 데리포자트라 슈레스 티슈디 고데 다데 사마데라 다다디 추와나 지카 추레스.
And so then all those followers of Yanang, they were overjoyed and they thought that they had actually seen Milarepa. And so then they gave up quarreling, and then the disciples from Jin no longer feared that the body would be taken away by force. And so then at that time, it happened that the people from Yanang found they had another body of Milarepa, which they carried away to Labchi, and then they cremated it at the Eagle's Egg in a great cave of the conquered demon. And so all the signs that had appeared before then also appeared there. So all the signs that had appeared in Chuba then also appeared there. So.
저는 추바르 보르트라 투세 냐마 남지 조르와다베 샤초 수마나라고 남바타 안타쿠 남바타 오예레 로지 베 노베 지베 총장도 저베 투세 부전남데 가루 지수리 총매 총마도 다 버시 유레나가랑리 남지 초바부게 조르와다베 때 예네면 용반도 슈발라이 이제 군참네스 다 지수 버르 총총도 쇼레스 대 총총송의 공도 조도시리 다 레종 잡사 말이 나서 다 매슈당 가사리 그냥 가서 제마 조르와다베 대안제 락사 말이 and so
then meanwhile, at Chubar, then the main disciples then worshipped his body. And then after some time, they found that it transformed into as a rainbow body. And then the great disciples discussed the matter and came to the conclusion that Rajumba wouldn't arrive on time. And so they agreed that if the body were kept any longer, there would be a risk of not having any remains. And so then they thought that the best course of action would be to cremate the body immediately. So. And so then they prepared this cremation, and they created a mandala of colored powders, or a sand mandala of colored powders. And so then at the dawn of the real cremation ceremony, and the fire was lighted, but then the body could not be burned. So.
저는 디세 이제 남간 자부 kurkhanes 이신 칸로마 디 린제 기대도 나 람 이셰도 뭐 사이네 지부다도 검검 내지메 제시 세메 풍부 세메도 이제 풍부 나는 라고 검검 드림 풍부 제라도 제베 사이에 진권데 내조들라 조조 사이에 뭐 제라차 농산연미 만메 jun치미베 빠빠네 선내 공부 제시 도생아의 시제 jun치미베 소소 센슈어 소람비 수점장매 고공의 점리 화사 장원장 드림 추공 소라차 드베 딘소 보제데 원나 초베 딘풍데 드림 보제 치주세 하로데기 초양조 리현자기 초바부 드림 초가 제다자 린지 구군제 코제고 방문칸로 샤토지 드림 보라 리동미 드니 도베 지베라 제초먹고 샤바고 삼미군제 초생다 나포먹고 개조 라당라메 담제 카다먹고 투장표 렌젠제지 풍부 ngada maji nyamba sho lama sangje sangse yendo maji yendo mama maji zo nga dama khanro kana chepji poji kunsamdo seji jobe nanta yeshamo sangwa yanze paye papa ngodom jongwe tsesom lama ji su namta la nyeba chi je jamu yin khanro loyang de chenam jongo chenam jongo mohuji malarepe huju la tuto mango ganden yucho de ye mecho la Yang mi zo他们这能做身边了，年双没做基本这人这个呢，那什么结果你自己去那个些钱不怕起我干些着，那些差别那些级别他就大的更加大的小班做，是他看着那个我是了，当主任呗。
Hola, so so then at that moment, 5 dakinis, one from each of the 5 Buddha families, appeared before them and sang this song. Ram, all perceiving Dumo, is the supreme fire. Since the great sage meditated throughout his life, what need is there for a man-made fire? Having unceasingly perceived the earthly body in the form of a yidam, how can there be a dead body today? Since the mandala of the yidam, in its exquisite beauty, is inherent in the body of this yogin, what need is there for an earthly mandala? Since the lamp of this inseparable mind energy is ceaselessly burning, what need is there for a paltry butter lamp? Since he partakes increasingly of the 5 elixirs, for whom is this sacrificial cake? Through adorning himself with the purity of morality, he removed the stain of the 2 defilements. For whom is the purifying vase to be held? The sky is filled with clouds of fragrant perfume and the whole mandala of offerings. Today there is no need to burn your incense. 4 orders of dakinis are singing chants of praise, while the chief dakinis are offering worship. Today, in what manner do you perform the ritual? Since a host of awakened masters encircles him, and a multitude of great yogins pay their homage, what need is there now to touch his body? Since the master has realized ultimate reality, what need is there to beautify his dead body? Since it is an object of both celestial and human veneration, there is no need for you to own it. Devote yourself instead to universal veneration. Observing the precepts of the Lama and Yidam, there is no need for other instruction. Continue to follow the precepts. Since the master's body is a heap of priceless gems, give up the dispute over ownership and be calm. Since the instructions of the enlightened Lama are secret, abandon the desire to talk about them. Keep silent. The secret instructions are the living breath of the dakinis. Practice them in complete retreat or risk pollution in its many forms. In a concentrated striving toward liberation, many obstacles arise. So meditate in complete secrecy. Through the rebukes of your wonderful Father, realization will emerge. So cast away your doubts. As for the story of the Master's liberation, there is no need to proclaim its fame. Blessings will flow from the song of the Supreme Dakinis, so increase your faith. O fortunate disciples, and there are many realized saints among the spiritual descendants of Milarepa. O gods and men, no epidemic shall ravage the people and animals of this land. All you people gathered here tonight will never again be born in the lower realms. In the mandala of the suchness of Shunyata, perception and awareness are one. So break your clinging to dualities. There is special significance in the final instruction of the dying master, so strive to fulfill his words. May all of you live forever in the supreme Dharma, the source of peace and joy. Lasso.
Tene zase je zombe singen dong ba na res ji chu shen ne re chung ma le fa zo bo ma re zong ba zang kan ro ke yang zi tang tu ban do re chung e jong me xie bo sha rong mo me chung zhou ban do yu se re pa xie ba wu ne ji chu tang kan ro ke zong bo me chu me ye lo ji chu re chung ba chung wa pe ba ta chu te fa rang li na ma zo ba to se ne zo ba da hu wo se ma lo xian na
And then as the song ended, the master of Nyenzong said, even though the master's instructions to delay the cremation until after the arrival of Rachung agrees with the content of the Dakini song, we do not know when Rachung will arrive. The body might soon dissolve into emptiness. Shiva Rebam said he was sure that Rachung would come soon, as indicated by the master and the Dakinis, and also because of the way the master's body defied the fire. Until then, let us devote ourselves to the worship and veneration of the master. So.
Milarepa Sheba Dorje, Kachu Tabrikin, Chomba, Kashu Hanam, Choban Buani, Menam Chubana, Swan, Choban Bukin, UBS, two and the two tone roba, Roba, that was Shay, Chon, and North Chono, slots of the river, Chombes, North Chombes. That's a card.
Also, your to let's go.
North Chombes, the first.
All right. At that time, Rachungpa was residing at the monastery of Loro Drol in southern in southern Tibet. And one morning in the early dawn, while he was in a mixed state of contemplation and sleep, he perceived a host of Dakinis who were about to carry away to another realm a crystal stupa radiating light throughout the heavens. He saw the crystal stupa being praised in song and worshipped with offerings beyond imagination by the community of the Vajrayana tradition and the benefactors who filled the earth, and by the celestial beings and Dakinis who permeated the sky. Rachungpa prostrated himself on seeing Milarepa leaning from the stupa and heard the master say, Rachungpa, my son, even though you did not arrive in time as I asked you, my mind is full of joy that we, father and son, are together at last. It is uncertain when we shall meet again. So let us treasure this rare occasion. Radiating a joyful smile, Milarepa repeatedly touched Rejungpa's head. Rejungpa realized the uniqueness of this meeting, and a faith arose in him such as he had never known. Rejungpa awoke. He recalled Milarepa's previous words. Hoping that his Lama had not yet died, he felt he must go quickly to see him, even though he might not reach Chuvar in time. As he was invoking Jetsun with a face of unbearable intensity, two women appeared before him in the sky and said, Rejungpa, your Lama has passed into the Pure Land of the Dakinis. If you do not go quickly, you may never see him again in this life. Go now without delay. And the warning in the dream and seeing the sky filled with rainbows and lights aroused in him the memory of the Lama and yearning to go to him. He left Lorodol at early dawn as the cocks were crowing. Maintaining harmonious unity with the purest awareness of the Lama, Rejungpa, in an act of devotion, drew air into his body and retaining it with the force of a well-shot arrow, covered in one morning a distance that for ordinary travelers would take 2 months. At sunrise, arriving at the pass on the ridge of Mount Podzi between Dingri and Jin, he rested a moment. He saw signs of inconceivable wonders which filled the entire space of the heavens, the mountains, and the surface of the earth. He was overjoyed. Over the summit of Mount Chovo Razang, he saw innumerable celestial sons and daughters amid the domes of lights and rainbows, bearing innumerable offerings of the 5 sensory enjoyments, worshipping fervently and prostrating themselves toward Chua. Seeing these signs, Rejungpa was filled with apprehension. He asked the celestial beings the significance of these spectacular signs, and particularly who was being worshipped. Some goddesses said, "Have you been cut off from the world, seeing nothing and hearing nothing?" These offerings are being made by celestial beings of higher realms to the holiest master of this earth, Mila Laughing Vajra, who is being worshipped by gods and men at Chuvar as he enters into the Pure Land of the Dakinis. Hearing this, Rejungpa felt as if his heart were being torn out. He hurried on his way. And so then he hurried on his way, and when he was very near Chuvar, he saw the Jetsun sitting on a big rock shaped like the square base of a stupa. Just as in the dream, Milarepa showed his joy and greeted him, saying, "My son, now you're here." Thinking that the master had not really died, Rejungpa felt an inconceivable joy arising in him. He bowed at Milarepa's feet and spoke with veneration. Milarepa answered all his questions. "Rejungpa, my son, I will lead the way, follow me." So saying, Milarepa went ahead and then instantly disappeared. Then Rejungpa continued his journey and arrived at Chuvar. At Milarepa's cave, he saw the great disciples, monks, and lay followers mournfully worshipping Milarepa's body. Not knowing who this man was, some new monks stopped Rinchen and prevented him from going toward the body. Saddened by this, Rinchen sang in an aggrieved tone this song of sevenfold devotion.
我这是出生上进周边工，突这前些起步往你的，帮革命人穷得着，你让大白没俺先了，我都中央铁路去，怕基本都讲车，小中也不说那没别些嘛都，怕突这些些各地件，前些那边两把，基础出了，基础上进去年张国松会被。强在路高新这边，确保每个路会地块要这些那了建议了，十分钟或者过头，两个没的工作来做给上，基础土工作其实我完中的干买的，基础不是通嘛，他们那么都是他在波兰结往我说这边干吧，他不是我说通嘛，不是这我说通的，我那娘那。我上年给弄完了，人家伢是两把的，其实这边当俺学是他才做才中逻辑就。他基础这种可能他基础节上用的，那个话没的，基础他节托马松是，节要可看嘛都是，我的你嘛一样，这里原来对吧？是普呢，这里你嘛一样啊，基础去突射到，但是这里波兰节样嘛，节被看见嘛都是，真的，他我是波兰节特别的，真的在人家那去下去在开始活动这种样，我是那种样子嘛用那在。开始的没那么重，也那种，他就在那罗起三个同大才是到才是多少的是律师。
So to summarize this song, so Rinchen laments and says that I'm unfortunate. Now I'm unable to meet my Lama once more. And then then he offered him the 7 branches, and then he said, before I used to be his heart son, now I'm prevented from meeting with him again. So then he requests, will you please grant me a way to clear away this hindrance, any hindrance to practice and any hindrance to seeing you directly. Please bestow signs in dreams and so forth.
Xie te me nga te kwa te PVS ne, je chung be song te lang chung por ki xie dang ye wa dang por de me dang ba te wa nyam te chung, ne je chung be song to ma ta je ba xi ba bu mian zong dong ba se wen je pa Dorje bu nam de nyam ma nam su ru wong xie chung be je pa nam de por chung tu ma sang be tu yu te yang ma zo pa de ma jong ji je chung kwa te la ma sa ba su ma sa ma ba, ne je chung be mo hu dong yang ji ji chu ki wo se tian cha yang la xing de chung be je pa xiong ba nam ma ko le zo te ki ma ji ba ja ba le sing ge zhou mi sa ne zhou ja ba sing ge je ga ji ba je chung yin be ya tong xie je chung hu je chung ye je chung te zang yi qi me go pa yu ma na ma pe kan de shuo zong de yang jian ha le ba gong ji qiu tu si de wa dong na.
And so then Rinchen sang this song in sorrow, and at the sound of Rinchen's voice, the radiance in the face of Milarepa's corpse faded out, and at the same time, a fire emerged from his body. Upon hearing the voice of Rinchen, Shiva, Nyenzongrepa, Sibenrepa, and several others of the Vajra brothers with the lay devotees came to welcome Rinchen. Resenting the action of the young Ripas who had prevented him from seeing the Jetsun's body, Rinchen would not move forward until his song was finished. At that time, though the great master had passed into the crystal clarity of the Dharmakaya, he came back and said to the young Ripas, "Do not behave like that toward Rinchen. One live lion is better than 100 masks. Let him come to me." To Rinchen, he said, "My son, do not feel frustration. Do not be overcome by resentment. Come before your father." Everyone was astounded and filled with immense joy. Rinchen embraced me.
do part the drug in Dobe, Jitu Kinyung Dorjee, so you go him, Meche Chak and Beman, Dabji Dabuton, Sandra, Dabu Xiao Chi, Loge, Tang Xiao Ipe, Chuchi, Meche Maran, she have Yong and Jamba Joric on Volop Nantanda, Jechung Kindle, Merganga, Tase in Yong, on the Purkan, Dorje Gork, Lukin Gonda, Zombie, Zonkin Tama, Nimbo Neto Gort Song, so what's that Maloshanan?
And so then Rajungpa embraced Milarepa's body, weeping with such joy that he fainted. When he came to himself, he found the great disciples, monks, and lay devotees all seated in front of the cremation cell. Milarepa was completely free from any illness, appearing as an indestructible manifestation which united form and emptiness into one, and enthroned upon an 8-petaled lotus, the master radiated like the anthers of a flower. Sitting in the asana of royal ease, his right hand extended in the preaching mudra, pressing down the flame, the left hand in a supporting mudra at the left cheek. He said to all disciples and devotees, listen to this answer to Rajungpa's song and to the final words of this old man. And then Milarepa sang from the cremation cell this indestructible song called, or bhajan song called, The 6 Essential Principles. So,
本年一堂这位来穷修可见当话论等中空松苦为讲述了绝对瀑布对波起多过先把主转前几天前把同对面先把这把几天前把同学来穷把就嘛留级重建的让三公民对波起留下差计算张张的去年同了都对面是你的这求学来穷吧后来你节算上的让就一些对过去老保的健康真正见面同了都对面见面再三送去来穷吧现在那些年节算上把多那批对过去对面流淌中转那路同了都对面那路这样破皮来穷吧这种特别重建的能源对这先波起桥上计算张张两百年了都对面桥上就光些来穷吧能够他被应用左边上级行动左边上级习近平长东推广总统也别同了到对参与光些来穷那么也当看着从这就知道是吧大把光把就把这就知道你是现在上起码或者从这就知道这是就这他妈规矩他妈看见规矩就嘛从这里面头来穷吧这娘说东西拍一回是我什么东西呢
So this is the song, listen Rajungpa, dearest to my heart, to this song of my last will of instructions. In the ocean of the 3 samsaric levels, the illusory body is the great culprit, striving toward fulfillment of material aims with little time to renounce worldly efforts. O Rajungpa, renounce worldly endeavor. In the city of the illusory body, the illusory mind is the great culprit. Enslaved by the flesh and blood of the body, with little time to realize the ultimate reality. O Rajungpa, discern the true nature of mind. On the border between mind and matter, inner consciousness is the great culprit. Drawn into the realm of conditioned perceptions, with little time to realize the uncreated nature of reality. O Rajungpa, capture the fortress of unborn emptiness. On the border between this world and the next, consciousness in the intermediate state of the bardo is the great culprit, seeking a body even though deprived of a body, with little time to realize ultimate reality. O Rajungpa, work your way toward that realization. In that deceptive city of the 6 classes of beings, there is a great accumulation of defilements and evil karma following impulses of desire and hatred, with little time to realize the all-encompassing emptiness. O Rajungpa, abandon desire and hatred. In the invisible realm of the heavens, there is a Buddha who skillfully uses falsehoods, guiding sentient beings toward relative truth. Little time have they to realize ultimate truth. O Rajungpa, abandon concepts. Lama Yeda Mendakini, 3 united into one, invoke them. View meditation, view contemplation and practice, 3 united in one, master them. This life, the next, and the intermediate, 3 united in one, unify them. this is my final instruction and my very last will. O Rinpoche, there is nothing more to say. My son, devote yourself to this instruction.
今天咱先从我是讲的天幕，是我是讲天幕是嘛啥？不讲业务的，除非给先讲直接过去把当几把等着业务或者几把不许在网上都当讲成发电了说呗。就这把对没把就那没见的，这把他们这边嘛，他的这么这些咋子？人家那对来说，就这他妈把这个没啥他们进去，就这他妈特别他们忙不成了，就把他们这没把成，没把这个这他们这那别忙去。北方领域去通常这嘛就拉说别，什么这那说前面，对吧？那边车上对吧？都是简单拉说别，就这些措施这个就都这些不肯定的那种，这个那不肯定的那边那种，我们呢，这父母那个，特别都是托的，吃住铺真的，吃住汤，都用我也确保，都用我也确保我们那边。And
that having spoken thus, Milarepa resolved into all-embracing emptiness or luminosity. The funeral pyre was instantly transformed into a celestial mansion, square in shape, having 4 entrances with ornate porticos. Above it gleamed a rainbow and a canopy of light. The parapet of the roof was surmounted by parasols, banners, and other ornamental offerings. The flame at the base took the form of an 8-petaled lotus blossom, and the curling tips of the fire unfolded into the 8 auspicious emblems and the 7 royal insignia. Even the sparks took the form of goddesses, bearing many offerings. The chant of worship and the crackling of the dazzling fire sounded like the melodious tones of various musical instruments, such as violins, flutes, and tambourines. The smoke permeated everything with the fragrance of perfume, and in the sky above the funeral pyre, young gods and goddesses poured a stream of nectar from the vases they held and offered abundant delights for the 5 senses. The lamas and the venerable lay people were all filled with joy. So. So I'm actually at Gagarchen Buddhist Institute in Arizona now, and today they had actually scheduled some questions and answers with me. Some interviews, some interviews at GBI, but I actually told them that I don't have time because I consider this teaching also very important. So we might finish next week, but if we don't finish next week, then we will definitely finish the week after that. So thank you everyone for joining.
Jambi babu chetaran chemba tang gundu sambu tenyang tekin de teta gunje jesu dalu jing kewan de da tamchi rabdu ngo xieja changchu semcho rinpo chi ma chi pa na jeju je 제바 냠바 미바 양 고네 공투 페르와 효 셰자 군세 군첸 주제 제 덴제 니나 왕토 지공바 렌첸 바르제 덴바 신티 바라라 예조 투사 공변 지조 제 Yeah, okay, thank you everybody.
Thank you, Rinpoche. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Busy.
La.
That's it. But don't go Japan.
La so yeah.
To get you. Yeah, thank you. Ina to get you.